I can't even go live into Facebook using my Zoom, only on YouTube. It doesn't work for Facebook for me for some reason.
I'm gonna learn how to do that from I'm gonna learn how to do it because I want to know how to do it. All right, all right. So, good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever you may be tuning in. This is Christina, Redemption and Recovery When Suppressed Wounds Begin to Heal. I have a wonderful, wonderful guest today, Miss Saril. I'm going to have you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you so much, Christina. It is such a pleasure to be with you here today. I've already had so much fun talking to you behind the scenes or the screen, so I could just imagine how much fun this is going to be. My name is Saril Vasquez. I am a certified functional nutrition counselor, a true cellular detox practitioner, and a certified event interventionist. And I obtained all of those credentials with one goal in mind, and it was to regrow my hair because homegirl was looking real rough couple years ago, okay? 2020 was not my year. I had had hair loss for about a decade at that point,
Mm.
and I had just broken up with my ex. He left me, not left me. I broke up with him because he cheated on me with a girl that was like 10 years younger than me.
Mm.
Okay. So that I mean, like I was 33 at the time. She was 23. Homeboy was into video games. You know, he was about that life. So I guess he had more in common with her than with me, and it was okay. But you know, he cheated. I left him, and you know, the next year I was looking like an old lady, and I said, there is absolutely no way that I'm gonna let this be my future. You know, I broke up with my ex because he found a younger girl, and then I'm gonna be wearing wigs. I don't think so. So I just had this breaking point and I said, you know what? I'm going to figure out how to reverse my hair loss or I'm going to die trying because this cannot be my future. So, and then I went crazy spending $75,000 that I did not have. I didn't have it. I had to remortgage my home,
Oh, wow.
sold my car. I just like I'm telling you, I went crazy. I figured it out. I got into credit card debt, but in 2 years, I spent that money, got those credentials, spent $20,000 in hyperbaric oxygen therapy alone, supplements, tests, Chinese doctors, regular doctors. Like I just was like committed. But finally, I got to the point where I had an epiphany, and I woke up in the middle of the morning, and the first thing I did was go like this. And at the time, my head was not this flexible.
Mm.
It was a lot of scar tissue, and it was very my hair was very thin, 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 thin all over. And I was just like, God, I figured out yet. I I'm growing scar tissue. Like, how do I fix it? And the minute I said that, I went to YouTube and I started like looking and I got the final piece of the puzzle that I was missing. And I was able to start regrowing my hair in the same pattern that I was losing it. So I was losing it down the middle, on the sides, in my nape. Just it was just thin all over. And the same way that I started losing it was the same pattern it started growing back. And I was just like, hallelujah, praise Jesus, because I literally would not have done it without him. But it was worth it to invest that much in my health and not make any excuses. Like, even though I had zero evidence that I was going to figure it out, but that did not stop me. Like, I was just committed. And I knew that with Jesus, everything was possible. Like, it didn't care that the doctors told me there's nothing we can do. It didn't care that I didn't care that I had not found anyone else that had figured it out. And I wasn't doing it just for me. At that point, I had already had a Facebook group that told them like, hey, I think hair loss is reversible. And when I told them that, I didn't realize that my hair loss was going to get worse. So it was like I already had these people following me, and like my hair loss got worse. And then I was just like, okay, I'm not just for me. I got to figure it out for them too. And so like I pushed through and God helped me. And here we are today. I have a virtual practice. I help women reverse hair loss naturally, all different ages, color, sizes, everything. We make miracle happens with God's grace every day, girl, every day.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you for that beautiful introduction.
I'm just kidding.
So let's kind of go back. Like, when did you know that you had an issue with hair loss? Like, were you just like brushing your hair one day? Like, how did that come about?
That is such a good question. And the reason is I always tell my community, anyone who's listening to me, if you think back, there usually is what I call a triggering event, right? So it's like something like you've been stacking these dominoes for years. You know the dominoes that you line up and then you flick the domino and they all fall down? So you've been stacking these dominoes for years, and then you have this triggering event that flips it. And for me, that triggering event was I got off birth control. So what happened in my story, but everyone has different triggering events. What happened in my story was I was born in New York City in a building that was like over 100 years old. They were rusted pipes, even though the building was well maintained. There were rusted pipes, from time to time. I mean, they took out my tonsils when I was 5 years old because I was reacting to my environment so much. So already I'm handicapped. At 5 years old, they took out my tonsils. Then I got amalgam filling, three fillings in your mouth that make your molars look black. They put those in. That is basically just heavy metal in your mouth, slowly system. Then they took that out improperly. So I had more exposure to heavy metals. And I had an eating disorder for a very long, like 20 years. I had an eating disorder. So I was eating all types of the sugar, the gluten, just binge eating, just all the different behaviors, purging, binge eating, not eating, like the whole thing, just doing all of that. So I had been really just stacking up the dominoes against me for a while. And I got on birth control for when I was like 19. And then when I was 24, I said, you know what? I'm looking for Jesus. I'm not being promiscuous. I don't got a boyfriend like that. So why should I even put my body through this? Like, let me just do the patch. So I'm gonna just take this off, because I just felt like it didn't look lady like to wear a patch and you're not even in a relationship. So I kind of made that move. And I remember when I did that, all of a sudden, there's just like bushes of hair, just like globs, just like traumatic, just like almost like I had a cancer treatment or something. And it's just traumatic, just amounts like all the time, all the time, all the time. And like I even started getting like balding in the middle of my head and everything. And then I said, what is going on? Like I don't understand it. I started getting keratosis pilaris, which is a condition where you get these little bumps behind the back of your arms, the back of your legs. That's another comorbidity or like another symptom that is common when you have estrogen dominance. So that is what happened to me. My body was not used to making progesterone anymore because they thought I was pregnant. And pregnant women have a lot of progesterone. That's what the patch was for. So I stopped creating progesterone. And when I took off the patch, because the patch was giving it to me. So when I took off the patch, my body was like, you took away the progesterone? I forgot how to make it. So estrogen, and there's different types of estrogen. There's a protective estrogen, that protects your bones and helps you age well. But then there's also the type of estrogen that causes cancer. So that opportunistic estrogen started going out of control once the patch went away and it started overproducing. Once you become estrogen dominant, like, girl, it's a wrap. It is a wrap because it is a self-perpetuating cycle in your body. So, we're drinking, and I'm guilty because the water in Florida is horrible. I was filtering it for years, and then it was contaminating me even though I filtered it. So I had to switch back to bottled water.
Okay.
But we're drinking xenoestrogens from the plastic. The makeup, if you're not using makeup that is conscious of chemicals, you're exposing yourself to xenoestrogens there, not the food, right? So we're constantly exposing ourselves to excess estrogens all the time. And mind you, I was eating a ton of sugar. That makes it even worse. So when you have estrogen dominance, your liver, right? Your liver is responsible for getting rid of the extra estrogen. But what happens is you try to poop it out. You're supposed to poop out the estrogen. You create
Okay.
you create bile in your liver, in your gallbladder, which is on top of your liver.
Right.
And then when your liver decomposes the estrogen, it joins with the bile and it goes through the colon. It's supposed to leave. But when you have estrogen dominance, there's an enzyme that's called beta glucuronidase. So
Okay.
this enzyme comes over and it says, "Come here, estrogen," and it takes estrogen back into your bloodstream. But this time, instead of being this small, it's this big. So you're dealing with a lot more estrogen. So it goes, and now your liver has to break that down all over again. And in the process, it's making the bile that connects to the estrogen, it's making it thicker, so you can get gallbladder stones. Whether you have pain or not, we pretty much all have gallbladder stones, whether you have pain or not. So
Right.
so now that bile is not as bioavailable. It's not available because it's clumped up. So it's not able to like clamp onto the estrogen that well. And you still have that enzyme that's releasing it. So it becomes a self-perpetuating problem, and it compromises your body's ability to detox.
Wow.
So now that you compromise your ability to detox, your gut is like out of control. Your also estrogen has a proliferative effect. So it will proliferate candida, which is, we all have candida.
Yeast.
Yeah, yeast. We all have it. It's a commensal, what we call commensal bacteria, meaning we all have some of it, but it only goes out of control when your immune system is low. So your immune system says like, "Hey, let's party. She can't do nothing now. Let's go, let's go." So it goes out of control, it starts proliferating. You start getting holes in your gut. You get leaky gut because it's like poking you. Then you become consistently inflamed because everything you eat is going through your bloodstream earlier than it needs to. And your body's like, "What was that?"
Mm-hmm.
So it is just like it sets you up. It sets you up for a lot of problems. It's at the top of a long chain of symptoms. And then hair loss is one of them, because your hair, if you ever do a hair mineral analysis test, you will see that your hair has a bunch of heavy metals. It's almost like a way to detox, right? Like your hair and then it's designed to fall out. Like God created us with a whole bunch of different follicles, and it renews. It's a cell that it has a very high turnover rate, so it renews. And when it gets rid of that hair strand, you just got rid of toxins in there. So, you lose your ability to detox, your body's gonna compensate for it somehow. You see? So it's a slippery slope, and you have to get to a point where you're able to bring the body into balance. You need to help heal the gut. You need to open up the detox channels. Like there's different things you need to do to put that body in a healing place so that it can restore itself and regrow hair naturally without getting constantly interjected with these things that cannot self-regulate.
You gave a wonderful explanation. A wonderful, wonderful explanation. And I appreciate that because, hair loss, it can be something that, because, we feel like our hair is our crown. So what do you do when you begin to lose your crown? And I think you gave a beautiful explanation as to, how you enter that. I know some people, it could be a trauma response, you know, and it could definitely be a traumatic experience when you're like, your hair is like literally falling out. Like you said, it would come out in
By the handful. It was just
yes.
I was just like, I can't even believe this came out of my head. Like it was almost took up my. A lot of us did, right? In the 80s, everyone had big hair. It was the thing. right?
Right.
It was like we were rocking it. That's what we wanted. It wasn't until, in the 90s that people were like, oh, let me like relax it, or let me do, the keratin, let me do this and that, because the big hair isn't in anymore or whatever. But now if you see someone with a lot of hair, they're like gorgeous, because most people don't have a lot of hair anymore. And it's just because of the way that the culture is. We're glorifying sugar. We're putting it in everything. I mean, we're genetically modifying vegetables so they have more sugar, right?
Right.
Um, yeah, I mean, and then there's so many toxicants, like the cost of being alive in 2024 is the fact that you have to deal with all the EMF, you have to deal with all the GMO, you have to deal with the nutrients in the soil being depleted, you have to deal with all of the smog. There's so much you have to deal with.
Right.
That my grandma didn't have to deal with. She died at the age of 103 with hair. Okay. She wasn't on any medication. She did have dementia towards the end. God
Okay.
bless her soul. But that was it. No high blood pressure, no diabetes, none of that. You know why? Because for the first, I don't know, 40 years of her life, there were horses. So she had all of that time where she wasn't polluting her body and causing all that damage to herself. The reason we age is because we get introduced to heavy metals, poisons, whatever the case is, and then our body is trying to deal with that. And it's like, well, what the heck is this? Let me try to get rid of it.
Right.
That process of trying to get rid of it, we create free radical damage. And if we don't have enough antioxidants, then we're not protecting ourselves from that. And we're not eating our fruits and vegetables. If we are, it's way too much fruit, it's too much sugar. That's still a problem. It's probably not organic. So we're just like putting
With the
antibiotics.
pesticides.
Yeah. And that's literally like putting antibiotics in our gut when it's not organic, So we're doing all these things. Whole Foods actually now, in some of their frozen organic foods, at the end it says it's bioengineered. So we just have to be very aware and intelligent shoppers, and maybe even start dabbling and growing our own sprouts or something like that, just to protect ourselves from the cost of being alive in 2024. That's
Yes.
just the thing.
Yes, that is so true. That is so true. My husband actually had an appointment earlier with I want to say a dietitian or a nutritionist, and she was just breaking down like, okay, if you want to do this, use some honey instead of regular sugar, or if you're going to do plant-based, because he was once a vegetarian for like over 20 years. However, I think I noticed a different or a change in our body, and me
Mhm.
retaining a lot of fluids when I
Mhm.
started doing like the plant-based burgers.
Mhm.
It's nothing wrong with plant-based if you can actually read the ingredients on the back of the package.
Yeah.
So I hear you, girl. I hear you. Now, is there a special type of detox? Because I can go to the store and get some detox tea, or I have a good friend, Rana with True Vine Bodyline. She has a lot of different ways to detox your body. Is there a specific one that's for your hair, or is it tailored towards different body types? And you mentioned something about a hair analysis. So
Yeah. So
okay,
I don't do a hair analysis in my practice because
okay,
everyone's going to come out positive. It's just I
okay,
rather have my clients spend their money on coaching with me for a long period of time and
okay,
supplements. So
okay,
I want the solution versus like um investigation, because when it comes to hair loss, we have some usual suspects. And if we just go to the main thing, cleaning up the diet and addressing the five non-negotiables, which are healing the gut. So that's increasing your stomach acid, make sure that you're having regular bowel movements, sealing the gut lining, removing infections, and also the gut microbiome, making sure you have the right strains of bacteria in there. So there's healing the gut, there's addressing sleep, because when we sleep, that's when we're detoxing, that's when we're healing. Like, we're supposed to
yes,
wake up and be skinnier and sexier, we're supposed to call it beauty sleep for a reason, right? So if we're waking up and we gained weight and we have water retention, we didn't get our beauty sleep, we didn't repair, right? So we were like fighting something overnight. And sometimes that happens with my clients where they have environmental issues that are making
Yes.
their hair get worse. Like it could be they have an allergy to mold and there's mold in the house and they don't even know, they're not aware of it. It doesn't have to be that. It could be lead in the pipes, it could be dust. There's so many different things. um but so there's sleep, there's blood sugar balance. Okay, because if you had diabetes, you know, or insulin resistance, which is pre-diabetes, excuse me, insulin, uh, that is a hormone, right? So your
Right.
hormones are not going to be regulated in the correct way if your blood sugar stays up too high and your body is not accepting insulin into the cell. This is the problem. You're releasing too much cortisol. You know, you're like everything is getting thrown off. So you can't expect to have harmonized hormones if your blood sugar is out of whack. And then also inflammation, which we just talked about with the gut, that, you know, and there's other ways that we can have chronic inflammation too when we are just not getting better. So that's something else. And gosh, there's one more. It's blood sugar balance, healing the gut, sleeping. Um, there's five of them. Wait, blood sugar balance, healing the gut,
It'll come.
sleeping, inflammation, and circulation. It came. So we have to address circulation, not just of the blood, but also the lymphatic system, because your lymphatic system is the system that helps your body get rid of all the toxins. So that is, you know, so when going back to your question, is there a certain detox? I wouldn't say there's like a certain detox product or something. I would say it's more, although there is a one that I use more commonly with my clients. It's a company called Way Laboratories, but you do have to order through a practitioner. And they have like different types of kits. So, but typically I use that with my clients if I've put them on my personalized protocol for them and they're getting a lot of symptoms, then I know like, okay, we need to do more work and we need to open up the detox channels. So that supplement line, the way that they formulated it is with Chinese herbs, and it what it does is not only does it help with the detox process, but it also repairs detox organs. So it kind of primes to put your body in a place where you can detox with less symptoms because they're just working more effectively. So then I have them get on that, and then I move them back to the protocol where we're working on breaking down scar tissue and like healing the gut and doing all the things that might cause unpleasant symptoms just because they're having a hard time getting that stuff out of them. That's what would cause, because of that oxidative stress, the free radicals. That's what would cause, you know, that damage. I don't know if you know, but you're muted, by the way.
Oh no, I hear you. I have my nieces. They're like, "Can you play with me?" I'm like, one of my oldest niece, she walked past the camera. I'm like, oh, but it's all good. You know, we're doing life over here. So do you have like maybe a client testimonial? I mean, you're giving a great testimony of yourself, but do you have any like examples of how this have worked for a client or anything that you've worked with?
Oh, absolutely. If you go to my website, which is www.bellcanics, which is B as in boy, ELLECHANICS. So it's like a mechanic, but not mechanic, because it's a bell canic. Because you know, we're mastering our body mechanics to reveal our inner bell. So
Okay.
www.bellcanics.com/testimonials. You'll see videos, you'll see pictures, you'll see screenshots of you know, of different conversations I've had with my clients. You'll see all of that. But yeah, I mean, I have a bunch of testimonials. So I mean, I had my client Lisa,
Mm-hmm.
actually, she comes to mind.
Okay.
So she was in her 50s. She actually had a tumor in her foot that she was supposed to need an operation for, and she wasn't walking as much, you know, because of it. And she was just having, you know, a hard time dating in her 50s because she was using helper hair, you know, and it was kind of, you know, common for her, right? At that point, you know, she was, and you know, it's not uncommon in African American culture to have, you know, like different weaves and stuff like that, right? So she was kind of used to it and whatnot. But at the same time, she did feel like, man, I don't feel as confident when I'm dating because her husband passed away. I don't feel as confident when I'm dating, because I do have, this, and I kind of wish that I didn't have that. So, I worked with her, and, I helped with her ability to detox. I helped with her ability to identify what she should be eating, what she shouldn't be eating, ways to make the meal prepping more manageable, like eating out on the road, the right choices. I gave her supplements that were specific to all of the different symptoms that she indicated on my intake form. I do have an 85 question questionnaire that I have all my clients fill out. And it asks you everything from, were you born through a cesarean C-section or vaginally, to did you get the jab, right? You know what I mean by that?
Yes, I
The
understand.
jab?
The jab.
No?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, you froze, so I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah.
So it asked you all of that. And so, she kind of painted a picture for me as far as like all the different times that she had hair loss in her life, and what triggered it, and so it all comes, no matter what your trigger is. For me, it was I got off of birth control. For her, I can't even remember exactly what it was, but what I do know, it always comes down to your ability to detox and how well your immune system is functioning. So those are the two main things that are extremely important if we are going to put the body in a place to heal itself. And by the time we were done with the program, she had thrown away 6 wigs, and she chose not to get surgery on her foot anymore because it considerably got smaller, the lump on her foot, so she could walk again. And she felt better about dating, and she said that it was the whole mommy makeover. You can see her testimonial on my website, that website that I told you about, www.volcanicsoulshots testimonials. Her name is Lisa. She said it's the whole mommy makeover because she lost weight, she was sleeping better, her libido, like all these different things improved from going through a program where you're working on helping your body detox and putting your body in a place where it can heal itself.
It's interesting that you mentioned like going back to your childbirth. How was you born? How did you come into this world? Were you a cesarean? Were you a breech baby? Did you come out with your umbilical cord wrapped around your neck? Because all of that plays part in the genetic makeup, right? And I know I took a course in trauma informed care, and that was definitely one of the things that they brought up. One of the speakers was saying how there's a certain position he sits in where he almost slumps in a certain way, and he realized that when he was born, that's how his body was positioned. So as a grown man, when he sits a certain way, it brings him comfort. Then there was another great example of an individual who, when she would start to panic or have like an anxiety attack or anything and such, she would feel like something is choking her. So when she explained to her mom what was going on, like that feeling of like your throat is closing up, but it like literally felt like someone had their hands around her neck. Her mother explained to her, when you were born, your umbilical cord was wrapped around your neck. So, I think a great book too to offer or to suggest would be The Body Keeps a Score. And then also getting some trauma informed care, especially when you're dealing with this. And I love how you are dealing with, like, it's a holistic approach. You're dealing with the whole body, starting with the stomach, because everything that happens in our gut affects everything. If we start have the pimples and
Mm-hmm.
the whatever it is, it manifests, whatever's going on in our intestines begin to manifest through our skin. And that's a major part of our immune system. That's how the body functions. So you, girl, you done broke it down. You broke you broke it all the way down. And then like,
Deep.
yes, and you went back to the genesis, back to the beginning of how all this can come about. One could say like, well, what about this what is it, the grease that has all these herbals, I can't just put that in my hair. It's like, no, you got to begin to deal with and heal the gut. Now, when did your hair begin to grow back? When did you notice a difference?
Well, when you first start losing your hair, you just think it's gonna grow back. It started and then it stopped. Then I said, "Oh, it's
Okay.
over." And then it started again. And then it stopped. And you said, "Oh, it's over." And then it started again. And then when it started again, it just kept getting worse. And then it gets better, but then it gets even worse than it was before. And it's like you're playing this this game with your results, and you're just like, what, why is it's like your hair's trying to get better, but it can't. So, I started with this traumatic experience when I was 24, but it wasn't until I was 34 that I had put all the puzzle pieces together, as far as breaking down scar tissue and the fact that you have to heal the gut and like all these different non-negotiables. I had to go to school. And I had a 10-year career in pharmaceuticals. I worked for specialty pharmacies for 10 years. So the doctors that I was going to, they were my friends. I was going to the dermatologist, and she's looking at me with the somber face, so sad. And she's just like, there's nothing we can do. We can just slow it down. And I'm like horrified because I'm thinking like, how can this be? You guys haven't figured this out yet? There's so many people with hair loss. What do you mean, right? You don't want to accept it. And I had a binder this big of labs. Literally, it was that thick. And I was walking around to the different doctors' offices with a glossary, and I would say on page 23, my carbon dioxide was high. And on page 34, my progesterone was low. So I was trying to just make it easy for them because I thought they would get intimidated by this. Only one of them actually went through the whole thing. All the rest of them just rolled their eyes at me, and they just was like, she's one of them. And that was, because they want you in and they want you out. And that's the business model that is supported in that, because they go through a different um, curriculum, and they have different tools to help you. They're relying on medication. So you have to present with certain symptoms for them to diagnose you so that they know how to help you. Otherwise, they don't really know. They don't have a solution for you if it's not drugs or surgery or something like that, right? They can say, go eat better. But honestly, I think a lot of them don't even know what that means. What does eating better really look like, right? So, like, I tell my clients, eating better means eating and you don't feel symptoms. That's what that means, right? So, we have to learn to be that mechanic where we're thinking like, I was feeling fine and now all of a sudden I feel tired. Maybe I had too much sugar, and you start to notice these things. So when it started getting better to the point where I, was on this journey of regrowing my hair, uh, you know, fully, it's yeah, when I got to 34. So it was 10 years of me being in denial and just like trying to figure it out with a pill here, an oil there, a doctor here, a doctor there. And I went to an event, a personal development event, and the guy speaking, his name is Tony Robbins. A lot of people know him. He said that people in that he was coaching, they would say, I want to get this result and I can't. And I tried everything. And he would be like, really? You tried everything? And I was like, you know what? Gosh, that's me. Like, I'm totally saying there's no way I tried everything. I didn't try every single thing and every single combination and so that's when I had made that decision to spend. So when I spent that $75,000 or 2 years in, that was when I started getting like aggressive results where it was regrowing back very noticeably within weeks, like by the mercy of God. So, and that's, I'm not going to make a claim that happens for every client, but like for most of them, they start seeing some kind of result within weeks.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh. Mm, mm, mm. And I love how you said you tried everything. It's like you ain't tried everything.
There's no way.
And yes, yes. And how can people contact you if they wanted to get like a consultation, or because if they want to start their journey.
Well, first I want to say that hair regrowth naturally is possible for 97% of people.
Okay.
So if you want to know if that categorizes you, If you fall at 97%,
Mhm.
I would say take the hair loss quiz I have on the website. So if you just go to www.belcanics.com/quiz, you will have a series of questions to answer. And based on that, we can tell you if we have had results helping someone in your circumstances before, and whether or not we believe that you're able to regrow your hair naturally. So, and then at the end of that quiz, there is an option to have a consult with me. And so, they can just go ahead and purchase the consult after the quiz. That's something that they're interested in.
Okay. You said something earlier, but this was before we started recording. And you said like how could God, God created our bodies. He created hair to grow on our bodies. Can you say that one more time? It was something like that.
Yes. So when I had that come to Jesus moment of like, there's no way, I've tried everything, right? I needed to find evidence that this was possible. I didn't have any mentors that had done it before. Everyone was telling me it wasn't possible. I had like zero evidence that I was going to find a way. So I said, like, if I could find evidence, what would that be? And then I said to myself, well, when I was born, my body was born growing hair. So if my body was born to grow hair and it knows how to do that, why can't I retrain it to do it again? So there has to be like some sort of medicine, like a mechanism, and I just have to figure out what that mechanism is and restore function to it. And that's what functional medicine is. And that's why I went and I studied functional medicine, and I was like, yeah, hair grows when it has nutrients and oxygen in the blood, and it's attached to the supply, and then when it detaches, it sits in your scalp for a couple months in the telogen phase, so that hair can't get thicker and it's going to fall out. You should be regrowing healthy hair right under it. And if you're not, it's because there's either scar tissue, or there's not nutrients in the blood, there isn't enough oxygen, like there's it can be troubleshooted. We can figure it out, right? It's like there are steps, you follow the steps, you hypothesize. I tell my clients that as Belcanics, we have to wear our Belcanics hard hat. And that acronym of HAT stands for hypothesize, assess, and track. So we'll make a hypothesis as to, why your hair loss started falling out. For one of my clients, it was, she got the job and that's what started it for her. Another client, it was, she went through too much grief in a short period of time and that's what started it for her. For me, it was the patch. We all have different triggers. But then we just figure out like what is the negative feedback loop? What is perpetuated in your body that is stopping this phenomena of having a follicle with blood that has nutrients and oxygen getting to it? Like let's figure that part out. And then once we get that, then we restore function to that, we can get the results. So yeah, if we were born being able to grow hair, we should be able to get it back to where it was at.
Yes, and I love how you're not just giving them like this magic pill or something like that. You're actually walking with them through this journey and through this process. And I just love that about the services that you are providing. Now, if you could go back to I think you said 24, or what was it, 24 or 23 when you began to lose your hair?
24.
24, so age 24. If you can talk to the 24-year-old Saril, what would you say to her today?
Why are you battering your body with that eating disorder? You are just setting yourself up for so much pain and you don't need it. Why are you on birth control? You don't need it, and just be abstinent. um yeah, and I would say to her, you only have one body. You don't get to trade it in. You don't get to upgrade. You just have that one body. So do what you can to protect it now. Stop thinking you're invincible. You can eat whatever you want and do whatever you want. It only looks like that on the surface level, because Satan wants to get you addicted to those behaviors so then you can't get out of it. But it's not true. So seek truth and you will be set free. So that is what I would tell 24-year-old version of me.
Thank you. So you believe your 24-year-old version has excelled and exceeded and is at a place where she finally is blossoming right now?
I mean, I'm 38 today. I would say that about my 38-year-old.
That's yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, would she be proud of who you are today?
Oh yeah, we've come through a lot. We've made it through. We made it through some hard things, but it was worth it. You go through these experiences in life, as traumatic as they are,
Yes.
and because you were able to work through it, it molded you. It made you stronger, made you wiser, and it put you in a position to help other people and to be aware of God's mercy and his grace and just be able to see him. And no matter how horrible it was,
Yes.
just be able to see that he has a purpose and, he makes it all work for our good.
Yes.
So yeah, I would tell her like, you done did it, but we came out all right.
Yes. Thank you so much. And then what words of encouragement would you have to the young, a woman who's been struggling for years? Like, say if it's been, there's like, she just feel like there's no hope, I know you've said a lot, but is there if someone is watching this right now and they're trying to figure out like, man, I don't feel pretty, I don't feel attractive, I don't know, I feel ugly, what would you say to that person?
I would say, listen, you have two options. Okay. You can choose to focus on your pain and stay in the pain and, just find relief from other people feeling your pain and having that company in the misery and the sympathy. Or you can choose to do something different to get a different result. You can choose to be proactive. You can choose to, number one, always love yourself no matter what you look like. How you look doesn't determine, your self-worth. And I think that's a mistake that people make, when they don't feel confident, then they devalue themselves. And that stops them from being able to seek the healing because they just feel like they're not worth that effort. So it just becomes a self-perpetuating cycle of abuse, really. And the only way to break it is to have that sense of self-love. And if you're Christian, your identity through Jesus Christ, like how much he loves you, he just died for you, right? So you have that sense of self-worth and self-love, not in a toxic way, but just enough so that you can push through and start hypothesizing what got me here, what can I do differently to have a different result. And then you test it and you observe, how did that change the outcome? What should I do more of? What should I try next? Right? What should I stop doing? And this is how you feel happy instantly, because you just feel happy when you're progressing. Progress is enough to make you happy. Like, that's why people get super happy when they just lose a little bit of weight. They may not look like a model, but they're still happy. Or your hair grows back a little bit. Maybe you don't have all the hair you had before, but you're still happy because you have that hope because you're working towards progress. So I would say, don't focus on the pain and feeling bad about yourself. Focus on how you're going to change your circumstance and focus on not just yourself, but all the other people that you're going to encourage and support when you make it to the other side, the people that you're going to inspire through your story. So you're not even just doing it for you. You're doing it for everyone else that is going to see you triumph and just give God the glory at the end, but allow yourself to be that example for God to glorify himself, because you are being consistent in your pursuit of thinking about everything that is perfect and pleasing and good.
Beautiful explanation. Shoot, I was encouraged.
Yes.
Like, Yes, I love that. I love that. I love that. Can you please say your website again? I'm sorry. Can
Oh
you
my,
please?
I have the cutest little niece too, and she would totally do something like that. She plays and plays and plays. All she wants to do is play with me, so I get it. um, yes, my website at so www.volcanics.com/quiz to take that quiz, just so you can, if you want to find out if we have a good shot of helping you. And then if you want to hear other women's testimonials, www.volcanics.com/testimonials. So it all starts with Volcanics, BELLECHANICS.com. And then you could just throw quiz or testimonials after that.
Thank you. And then you have a Facebook group that people can like try to find or
Yes, there's a Facebook
okay.
group. It's called Reversing Hair Loss Naturally. Reversing Hair Loss Naturally. So we are on Facebook. We are on Instagram as well, but Facebook is the Facebook group is the most active with, encouraging consistent posts where I'm giving tips, I'm answering community questions. So people can go in there and, really pick my brain a little bit and get a lot of tips, practical tips on what to do. The other day I was telling people, that they could do a castor oil face mask to try to thicken their hair. So it's just things that I discover clinically in practice. And I even have a little freebie for that too. But if you get on my email list, you'll get the freebie. So don't worry about it.
Okay, reversing hair loss naturally.
Yeah, so Reversing Hair Loss Naturally is the Facebook group. Feel free to leave your email when you request to join the group, and we'll hook you up with all the freebies.
All right. Sounds awesome. Sounds awesome. Thank you so much. So to you all, Redemption and Recovery, when suppressed wounds begin to heal. We had a wonderful guest, Saril, restoring hair loss naturally. Please, please, please reach out to her.
Reversing
Reversing
Hair Loss Naturally. Reversing Hair Loss Naturally on Facebook.
Reversing hair loss
Hair loss naturally. Yes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Is there any last words you want to say, Saril?
Jesus loves you. Don't give up.
Jesus loves you. Don't give up.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful way to end this episode. Thank you, thank you, thank you again for being a wonderful co-host today, or guest.
Thank you for being a host.
Thank you for being here.
Co-host. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You all tune in again. Redemption and Recovery. When suppressed wounds begin to heal. Have a wonderful day. So
bye. Thank you for having me.
Bye. You're welcome. Thank you for coming.